Alright, BobalosRex here. In today's lore rant, you're already gonna know from the title, so I'm kind of just gonna get into it. Remember when I did power scaling the classes? Ignore this new icon for now, okay? Ignore this new icon for now. But remember when I did power scaling for the classes? This is what I came up with. And if you remember, I was basically scaling the classes, okay, in the lore as the class as a base, right? The basic rogue, the basic warrior. How strong is the basic priest? How strong is the basic hunter, right? So this tier list was made based off of the lowest common denominator, or well, the median, right? The median of the class, right? In the lore. Remember, we're talking in the lore. The player character in the game is busted OP. Remember, us in game, we are busted and OP. But in the lore, I scaled the classes based off of the basic unit, right? And that's why I use terms like this: elite hero class, super soldiers, hero unit, advanced unit, basic unit. I feel like I should have changed this, but I get like now looking at it. But I wanted to talk about how powerful. So in this one, right, I want to talk about the peak, right? The peak of each class. How strong can the strongest evoker get, or have we seen get? Okay, how strong is the strongest demon hunter? Okay, so now I'm going to be scaling the classes based on their maximum power, right? Because this was based off of the median, like I said, the basic hunter, rogue, priest, whatever. Now we're going to be scaling these different. So, alright. Planetary. Continental. Continental. There it is. City. Stadium. Room. Alright, this is based on their power of destruction. Planetary destruction. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can they destroy a planet? Can they destroy a continent? Can they destroy a city? Right? So my new grading scale, okay, is how much how much destruction can they cause? Room destruction. Okay. Alright, and remember, we're talking about maximum power. So, first thing I wanted to do is I want to move Evoker right here. Because I think right now, Evokers, because of what they are... Oh, sorry. Because we are talking about Emberthal, right? We're talking about Evokers. They, on the evoker page here on WoW Wiki, you can't, it doesn't even tell you notable evokers. You have to go to the Dragthier page. And we basically got the Kretch. Oh, hold on, you gotta go through this Dragthier page. And yeah, so our main evokers of note are Emberthal, Azurathir, Cinderthreth, Viridian, Sarkareth, right? And we've seen about how strong they get, and that's about on par with the median evoker. So, since the median evoker, and this does line up, the median evoker is basically as strong as the strongest evoker, they make for a good base here. Now, I will say this. No one's in the bottom tier. Alright? So let's move all them up. We do have a new icon here, so we'll deal with that. So, I think most classes can have stadium destruction level power, right? We've seen hunters go buck wild. Can a hunter destroy a city? Yeah. Can a warrior destroy a city? Yeah, but it would take them a while, right? They'd have to go area by area, right? They're not just blasting a whole city. A rogue? Again, they could get there, but it would take them a bit. You know, same with monk, right? Let's think about it, right? I don't think a monk is taking out a city. Okay? Now, I'm going to move priest up. I think a priest could take out a city. Okay? I think a mage can do a lot more than take out a city. So we're just going to move mage up. Alright? So, the stadium destroyers, right? Let's talk about monk, hunter, warrior, rogue. So, a monk uses the powers of the August Celestials. They basically use chi, right? It's like the spiritual energy. They use the spirit of life, basically the fifth element. They're like the fifth element of shaman, right? Which, you know, kind of makes me want to move them up because where we're going to put shaman, but they don't really... do we see a monk have enough juice to take out a city? With like one attack, right? Just nuke a city. Do monks have that power? You know what? Yes, I just realized something. The original Pandaren Emperor, Xiaohao, coated the entire continent in mist. It's not destruction, but it's up there. It's up there. So maybe I do gotta move monk up. So that's good, right? So we got monk moved up. Now let's talk about hunter, right? So here's the thing with hunters, and this gets a little tricky, right? When we talk about hunters, some hunters, okay, have gone above and beyond what I think is hunter, okay? For instance, Sylvanas. She is a hunter. But do we want to allow her powers for hunter maxing? If so, you know, Sylvanas, easy city destruction. You know, we've seen that. But a really big trap, right? But, I don't know if we do that for Hunter, right? I don't know if we put Hunter up there. Maybe it's because my list kind of fails here. But even Sylvanas with Torghast, she's blasting an area, right? I don't know if she can really do a whole bunch even then. You got Illyria, she's doing a lot, but she's tapping into something we're going to talk about later. Now, Warrior, we got Broxigar, we got Sarfang, we got peak Warriors. In no way am I saying Warriors are weak. I'm just saying, like I said, I think, honestly, all these classes with enough juice and power and energy from something can do anything. Especially the player character. But I don't know if we can get normal warriors to just want it. If this was One Piece, maybe, right? Or some anime, I could maybe see a warrior just swinging their sword and then a whole city gets wiped out, right? We don't really see that in WoW. Okay, we don't really see that in WoW. We've seen warriors roll up on cities and clear them out. Right? But, you know, we got Magni, Darius Crowley, you know. Who are the most powerful warriors? You got Gen Greymane. Gayara, very strong. Are they one-shotting a city? Maybe a stadium. You know, a big dragon war. They could maybe clear a stadium with enough juice. You know, Bane. It was more like a stadium. But we saw what Bane did to those Centaur. We saw what Bane did to them Centaur. That was a city, but see, it took him some time. But one, like that little stadium area, boom! Cleared it out. Okay, so that's kind of where I put Warrior. And then Rogue. We're about to get a really powerful Rogue with us. We got Edward Van Cleef on the list. Garona, very strong. And here's the thing. Initially, this was going to be who is the most powerful. But honestly, we'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, comparing Garona to Valera and Garona, who's stronger? Who's the stronger rogue? Vanessa is up there. Tess, Tao Shi, Shaw, Lillian Voss. Rogues can get strong. Dude, Lillian Voss can clear a stadium. But I don't know if she's one-shotting a city. So even the most powerful rogue, I can see easily stadium destruction. But not city. Alright. So, moving on to the next row. Again, Evoker's kind of my base. We've seen a Paladin clear a city, right? Is a Paladin going to one-shot a city? You know, maybe I move Paladin down to here, right? But we've seen some, like, big power plays from Paladins. You know, consecrating entire areas. Let's go over to Paladin. Maybe we bring Paladin down. Let's see who we got. Uther. Turellian. Right? Maybe we do move Paladin down. Leodrin. Erator. Murad. Here's the thing. Yrel is hard carrying Paladin right now, honestly. The more I think about it. Because I'm looking at, like, Turellian definitely the strongest Paladin right now on Azeroth. But Yrel, Yrel gets city destruction, bro. I gotta get... Yrel is giving Paladin city destruction. Okay? Literally. Alright, now let's talk about Warlock. Warlock's moving up. We'll talk about it later. Shaman's moving up. We'll talk about it later. Now, Priest, I'm going to leave here. But there's another Priest spec that we're going to talk about here. Priest, you know, maybe weaving a society around it could get some big destruction. But I don't see a priest, a holy priest of the light, clearing a continent. I can see, you know, a priest, maybe in a moment, a powerful priest. Yeah, let's look at some priests real quick. I think a priest can clear a city. Right? So let's get into that. Let's see how we got here. We got Alonzo's Foul. We got Anduin. We got Kalia. Moira. Oh, yeah. That's right. Sally Whitemane, you know what? Sally Whitemane was basically controlling a city with them thighs, bro. You saw the Scarlet Crusaders. You've seen the videos. People simp over her. She basically controls the city, right? My opinion, I'm not having an opinion on it. I'm just stating facts, alright? Talanji. I think she's strong enough to clear a city. You know what? We got people here strong enough to clear a city. Tyrande. Valen. Priest. Our I would say, have taken over continents, clearly. But they are city destruction. Now let's weave these around. So I'm going to put the Evoker right there. How does this feel? I feel like this looks good. You know, my opinions are in this. but that's kind of how I feel. You know, we can have priests wipe out a city. Paladins famously wiped out a city. Evoker, I think, is strong enough with dragon power, burninate the city. And a monk, because we saw a monk put mist around an entire continent, I gotta give him at least city destruction. Alright, and then these classes could wreak havoc in a city, but they'd be doing it stadium by stadium. Alright? Okay? Now, let's move into the next tier. I'm gonna move someone down. Alright, this feels right. This feels right. Okay, so let's talk about the Continental Destructors. Okay, so the Lich King, right? Y'all know, I think Illidan could beat the Lich King, especially now. But when we're talking about maximum power, right, and the ability to... You know what? No. I gotta fix that. Okay. We've seen Demon Hunters. Illidan basically blew up a planet. He did have to use some technology, and there was portal tech involved, and he did that. But basically, Illidan blew up a planet. Right? But more on that. I want to shift some of the power from that to something else. But yeah, so we've seen Demon Hunters take out planets. We've seen, well, armies of Demon Hunters. We've seen Illidan in Warcraft 3 using the power of... He's basically like Mage Demon Hunterin' a little bit. Basically gonna break a continent when a Druid interrupts him and saves a Death Knight. Right? But, to be fair to the Death Knight hadn't put on the whole helm. So, with peak Death Knight power... You know what? I'm going to give it to Death Knight. Because we're talking about peak Death Knight, right? I'm not talking about just Arthas the Lich King. Because here's the thing. I feel like... No, I gotta... it's so hard. So, and I've knocked Demon Hunter down from where? So let's... This one is hard. Illidan versus Arthas. Y'all know, I've already discussed it. Y'all know where I lie. I'm trying to be a little bit more nitpicky here. And you'll see later. So, with Illidan, we've seen him wanting to blow up planets and blowing up planets. We've seen him opening portals across space. Right? He has done so much to carry Demon Hunter power level. Right? Even base Demon Hunters are super strong, but I did rate them below Drakthir for the average because of how some of them, what happens to some of them. But especially with this new spec and stuff, we have Demon Hunters going above and beyond with the magic they control, whereas Death Knight is stuck with death magic. That, to me, is the biggest limitation of Death Knight. Not that death magic isn't powerful enough. It's just we haven't seen death magic take out a whole planet. Right? Yes, all things die. We've seen a Death Titan, kind of. But we don't see Death Knights take out a whole planet. Right? They try. We've seen Death Knight... the undead take over continents, clearly, but we haven't seen them take over a whole planet, whereas Demon Hunters have popped planets, right? And then we got Druids. Again, Druids, especially Malfurion, really, really hard carries the Druid power level. And it's funny, we have Cenarius in here, literally made the first Druid, well, Night Elf Druid. It's like, dude, Malfurion clears Cenarius easily, in my opinion. Like, easily. He had to freaking help him. But you know who needs more attention? Hamul. Right? I just wanted to say this. Hamul deserves more attention. But yeah, druids, extremely powerful. We see them doing continental level help, power, and all that stuff. But we don't see them knocking out a planet, right? We've seen planets taken over by life, almost, but we don't see them taking out a planet. Could a druid get to planetary destruction? I think so, and I want to see nature magic get juiced up. I want to see death magic get juiced up, and we see some kind of individual that's freaking turbo powerful from that magic school. But now we got to talk about the top 3. Okay, and why I put that, and it's not the top 3, it's the top 4. Okay, because we got to talk about Shadow Priest. Okay, Shadow Priests were a wild card for me. So let's talk about the top 4. So, because of Dalaran, bro. Because of, you know what? Because of current times. Alright, so first up, let's talk about Shaman. World Shaman Thrall, bro. World Shaman Thrall was so powerful. But he got 1v1 against Jaina. He was like, we are equally... He was thinking he was going to take the L. But I would argue that they were pretty equally matched if he was willing to go all out, but he wasn't. But, yeah, dude. I think World Shaman level power is easily enough to take out a planet. It's literally planetary magic, right? Maybe not a World Soul planet, like now that we know, but we talking about a normal planet. I feel like a shaman could rip a planet apart at maximum power and rain it down, right? We have literal, the earth magic itself, water, wind, fire, right? If Thrall had full control over the elemental lords, especially the elemental lords of Azeroth, like Ragnaros, Neptulon, and then them give him full power, dude, I feel like Shaman Peak could be crazy levels, right? So I definitely think, let alone if we start dabbling into like maybe Decay Shaman and maybe going full 6 elements, right? Tap into the spirit too. You know, they have the ancestor stuff too. So I think Shaman are very easily planetary destruction level class at their peak. And now Mage. Let's talk about Mage. So remember, Mage was low, but I brought them up because here's the thing with Mage. And I'm not talking about Guardians, right? Guardians are busted. Agewind, Medivh, turbo power level, right? Easily planetary destruction. Okay, but Jaina right now can easily take out. Back in what we were just talking about with Thrall was easy city destruction. I feel like she could blast a continent at a certain point, and I feel like if you go above and beyond on Mage, you could take out a planet. Right? We haven't seen it. Like, I'm really hyping up Mage here, but think about some of the people we got. We got Romith, Thalrissa, Umbric, Jaina, right? We start thinking about time magic. A mage could basically unravel reality as an accident, right? With the power of arcane, right? The power of, technically it's deep down, it's order magic, right? But they're tapping into the raw elements of the cosmos, which, again, we'd get into maybe the nitty-gritty of what is order magic. Is it like the stuff that holds atoms together, and that's what like the very core of order, and then it's like holds the elements up, and then like is void gravity, all that stuff, like that's drawing correlations and stuff. But either way, with time magic and all that stuff, I think mages are extremely powerful as far as their scaling, right? So we had them low. And again, we're talking about how high can these classes go? Honestly, I think some of these classes can go above and beyond characters we've seen. Can we see a Demon Hunter go above and beyond Illidan? I don't know. Alright, that's something I don't know. Can we see a Death Knight go above and beyond Arthas? I don't know. I don't know their peak right now. These ones are hard to say. Druid, can we see someone go above and beyond Malfurion? I don't know, but these are hard to say. But for these classes, what we've seen, I feel like Thrall was peaked, but he could go stronger. Jaina, she can get stronger. I feel like we can see her get stronger. Right? And now let's talk about Warlocks, right? Let's talk about the peak Warlock we've seen, Gul'Daniel. Right? Alternate Gul'Daniel. Our timeline Gul'Daniel actually kind of sucked. Compared, right? This alternate Gul'dan really popped off, right? But again, he could go even further, right? That's the thing. All these Warlocks, Kanrathod, Ritson. Dude, Ritson dies so much, bro. It's crazy. And they didn't put on the other council members, which was kind of sad about this. But look at these other members of... Yes, they're technically Warlocks. Archimonde, Kil'jaeden, right? If we're talking about them being Warlocks, which, yeah, they technically are, Hearthstone has Sargeras as a Hearthstone Warlock, and it's like, he's not a mortal, though. He's not a mortal, so I don't want to count him, you know? But again, what is the peak? What is the limit? We got Kil'jaeden, Archimonde. They literally destroy planets all the time, right? We saw Archimonde put up an image of Dalaran and go like, in the sand, and the city crumbled, okay? That's that on a just like a little sandbox, bro. So Warlocks are extremely powerful, and I feel like their peak can go beyond. So that's the main thing I'm getting at. And now let's talk about Shadow Priest, right? When I was going over Priests, I was thinking about, you know, all the ones we talked about, right? But you notice something here, right? Where are the Shadow Priests? Where the frick is Shadow Priests? I guess Zabra Hex, Benedictus, right? We saw him take an L to Shaman. But it's like, how high can Shadow Priests go? Right? I thought, you know what, they're probably the same as Priests. But then if you really think about it, right? What was Xal'atath? Right? We've seen Natalie Celine transcend death come back. I think the peak of Shadow Priest goes above and beyond normal Priest, right? And it has to do with how the light and the shadow work, right? The light has can put a lot of strong energy. But whenever we see light, even strong light, and then it flips, the amount of energy pumped out in Void is a lot stronger. It seems to be. It's almost like a conversion-like effect, right? Because light is so high energy, remember the thing, when you convert it to low energy, you get even more abundance of low energy. You know, because you're converting it down. And I think, especially with what we're seeing in Midnight, if we count Xal'atath as a priest before, right? And this is where I'm getting into mega speculation. And like I said, this is my ranking. Y'all can have your own ranking, and I do want to ask y'all something at the end here. But if Xal'atath was a mortal, right? Was a mortal being before joining the Void, I believe she was a Shadow Priest. We see Locust Walker. What would you call it? I'd call him a Shadow Priest, right? Locust Walker blew up a planet. Yeah, so like Xalatath helped blew out planets. So if she at any point counted as a priest, them going above and beyond, a shadow priest going above and beyond, is popping planets, right? And that's the thing. So let's get to this at the base and why I ranked everything down. Hunters, warriors, and rogues, especially player characters, can get so strong, but their biggest attacks, their biggest destruction, they're only going, in a large area, stadium level destruction, they can only go so far, right? Their peak power, because they don't have underlying deep magic, they can only go so far. A hunter unleashing a zoo upon a city would fuck it up. But it's not the level of destruction that we see on the... this could just be a failure of my labeling. But hunter, warrior, rogue, are strong and can peak from where I put them last. But I don't see them going above and beyond what their skills, their agility, their strength, and prowess can get them compared to the magic of the rest of these classes in WoW. Now, when we're talking about priest, paladin, right, we see the light be extremely powerful, but not on the level of the other forces yet, right? Will we see that? Are we gonna see that soon? Maybe. Will I be changing how I feel about these two in the future? Possibly. Now, Evokers, extremely strong as a base class, but if we talk about their peak, again, I don't know how far they go, but they're pretty strong as a base, and unless we see some big power gains, I don't see them going above and beyond, but they are a strong, powerful class to begin with, but I don't see them getting too much stronger at the moment. Monk, I see them move up from the previous list. I think monks can get extremely powerful, but I think they are also limited by the magic they use. Only using one of the elements, maybe channeling a few, but not really tapping in, can only get you so far. Knowing the wild gods, but not really becoming a druid, can only get you so far. So I think monk is on this level, just below evoker. Next up, the big boys. People, basically the classes where we've seen their peak, question mark, and it's powerful. It's extremely powerful. But I question, can these individuals go above and beyond? And we're talking about Illidan, Arthas, and Malfurion, respectively. Can they go above and beyond and really knock out entire planets? I mean, technically we've seen Demon Hunters do it using Warlock technology, but it can be done. Can we see Death Knights do something on that level? Other than just in a timeline, right? Arthas was about to get ready to get his army of Death Knights that could have taken over the world, but he didn't. He got beat. And then we have the 3 asterisks, 4 classes at the top. Shaman, easily, extremely powerful. Their limit, I don't even know. I don't even know their limit, especially with primal lists, primal incarnates. What is it? What was... Here, let's dig into it. Shaman. You got Magatha, right? Magatha, I should have mentioned her. But let's take a look at her buddy here. Oh, wrong raid. Alright, we got Kurog Grim Totem. He was going above and beyond, literally, basically becoming incarnate of each of the elements. Like, what would you call what he turned into? Ascendant? Yeah, Ascendant. Extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. How far could that take? Maybe you take an even stronger shaman than him. What would Thrall look going Ascended, bro? Thrall Ascended? Where does it go? And that's why I wanted to put him up, the shaman up here. Same with mages. How far can Jaina go? How far You know, we got Guardians being busted because they're tapping into other classes. But how far can peak Mage go? Especially when dabbling into time. You know? And then Warlocks, we see Warlocks taking over planets all the time, leading armies of demons, taking over, trying to take over the universe, right? We see these guys trying to take over the universe. We see kind of an order of mages trying to order the universe. And then we see Shadow Priests. Literally, right now, if you want to count Xalatath, a lot of her Mog is Priest Mog. I'm just saying. Literally about to try to destroy a planet. So that's the new list. This is the power scaling, and this is basically classes at their peak, right? All right, so we had classes at their basic, median, just the run-of-the-mill hunters, and now we've seen top-tier hunters. Now, like I said, I did want to talk about characters. So, what I want to ask y'all at the end of this video, because I do kind of want to bring this back. I did the Death Battle style, or Illidan v Arthas. Is there any more verses that y'all want to see me do, and my opinion on? Because here's the thing. Is this definitive? Is this the definitive class power scale? No. But it's mine. I have my reasons. You can agree, disagree. I did have, like, I feel like adding Shadow Priest here is... Shadow Priest peak and Holy Priest peak are very different. You know, maybe I should move Priest up. This is the only thing I feel like I may want to do is move Priest up here. But what do y'all think? What do y'all think? And then, yeah, what other kind of power scaling stuff? Because I like kind of power scaling, right? And again, remember, power scaling at the end of the day is all opinion. Unless some things are kind of a little bit more set in stone. Like, could this character beat this character in a 1v1 in a room in this setting? It's like, yeah, most likely, but a writer can write whatever they want, you know, at the end of the day. A rogue can sneak a Shadow Priest, right? A rogue can sneak a Warlock, right? Especially the player character. So, you know, I can't accommodate everything, but this is about where I land as far as, like, full destruction. And no one's stuck in the room destruction. That's good. No one's stuck here. Right? But anyways, thank y'all for watching as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.